Thank you, Senator Bazin and members of the committee. My name is Jackie Deal. That's Jackiedeal, and I'm an advisor to State Armor. I've spent my career researching the Chinese Communist Party and its military. Just to address, I think, an earlier question from Senator Roundtree, I wanted to cite the governor's annual threat assessment that came out in January based on the work of the Committee on the Pacific Conflict. I believe that committee had access to both public and non-public sensitive information, but in their unclassified report, Governor Pillen said, quote, Nebraska's agricultural supply chain, rural electric cooperatives, water systems, and state government networks are within the scope of, and then he cited a number of Chinese hacks like Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon. Volt Typhoon targets our critical infrastructure. We believe that it's been in place in U.S. critical infrastructure from Guam to the continental United States and also some of our allies since it's been active since 2021. I'll come back to this, but also Salt Typhoon targets our telecommunications. Part of this bill obviously addresses the security of our communications networks, as has been discussed. Chinese companies such as Huawei and ZTE have been subsidized by Beijing in order to purchase technology, steal technology, underprice competitors to drive them out of the market. The founder of Huawei served in the Chinese military, the PLA, the People's Liberation Army. You will probably recall a few years back, his daughter was arrested in Canada. She's also an executive of the company because of the company's work with Iran in violation of international sanctions. The company Huawei has been documented to work both with the Chinese military and Chinese intelligence services and the hackers with which they contract. A former director of the National Security Agency and the Central Intelligence Agency said, quote, I stand back in awe at the breadth, depth, sophistication, and persistence of the Chinese espionage campaign against the West. God did not make enough briefing slides on Huawei to convince me that having them involved in our critical infrastructure, in our critical communications infrastructure, was going to be okay. This is not blind prejudice on my part, he said. This was my considered view based on a 4-decade career as an intelligence officer. So stepping back, why is this happening? As has been mentioned, the Chinese Communist Party's theory of victory involves trying to assure that they win before they even have to fight by implanting systems in our critical infrastructure. The former FBI director says, quote, low blows against civilians are part of China's plan. Former Congressman Mike Gallagher of Wisconsin said, they are doing the cyberspace equivalent of placing bombs on our bridges, water treatment plants, water treatment facilities, and power plants. As Michael mentioned, in February of 2024, President Biden sent a letter to all the governors saying that they needed to come up with an action plan on hostile foreign penetration of their water utilities. China and Iran were the perpetrators. And I'm happy to take any questions, but I really appreciate your help.